Hi, welcome back to the show. We're now on Rumble exclusively, and here's why. We have a special guest with us, Dr. Clinton Ohlers.
Can I have you start all over? I need a better screen and back.
Oh, sorry. Over to Steph. Steph, read something.
No worries. No worries. Okay. Sorry, Jimmy. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to what you're saying. Let's hear. All right. I read that one. Okay. I read that one about Trump. Oh boy. Almost like Trump was covering up problems. That's that kid Pulley. All right, back to Jimmy.
So, welcome our special guest, Dr. Clinton Ohlers, earned his PhD from the University of Pennsylvania, where he focused on intellectual history and the history of science. He later taught at the University of Hong Kong as an assistant research professor. He's currently vice president and director of media relations for Safe Blood Donation, an organization that seeks to protect life and health through education about the blood supply and mRNA, pairing blood transfusion recipients with non-mRNA vaccinated donors. Welcome to the show, Dr. Clinton Ohlers. How are you?
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So here is what we're talking about, direct blood donation bills. So they have these bills now going through legislatures in America. In fact, across the United States, multiple states have introduced legislation addressing the rights of blood recipients, the disclosure of donor vaccination status, and the ability to request direct blood donations. This legislation session has seen bills proposed in Tennessee, Illinois, South Dakota, Texas, Utah, Idaho, South Carolina, Maryland, and Kentucky. These bills seek to empower patients with a greater choice. And basically what these bills, the important part, they all have differences, but they all seem to have the same thing in common, which is this: donor disclosure. It requires blood donors to provide information about their vaccination status, including details on COVID-19 vaccination and also recipient rights. Permits patients to request blood from donors with specific vaccination profiles in non-emergency scenarios. So tell me where do you stand on this, and how did you get involved in this?
Well, this is absolutely critical legislation, and let me tell you why. These things that are being protected here by these bills were normal health freedoms up until 2023, 2024.
Really?
Yeah. So these are really two parts. The one thing you talked about was disclosure, but I'll talk about the health freedom part to start with. So to understand what's going on is that, and what we do, the service we provide at Safe Blood is, say that you are going in for a blood transfusion and you are concerned, like I recall from your interview, for example, with Joe Rogan, that you experienced the surgery. And now let's say you're going to have surgery, and you're concerned that if you get blood, especially multiple units from multiple donors, that you're almost certain to get blood from an mRNA vaccinated donor, which may impart to you more spike protein, more circulating mRNA. And now we're learning from Kevin McKernan's disclosures of the last few weeks, DNA and potentially the SV40 promoters. So you don't want to be experiencing those, especially not if you already had a reaction. So a normal health freedom that has been uncontested for decades is that you would have the right to say, hey, I don't necessarily want blood off the shelf. I would just like to match up with so-and-so who has my same blood type, and, I trust their personal history. And that was called directed donation, and it was completely uncontroversial until the rollout of this.
So the fear is that if you get vaccinated, we found out that the spike protein can stay in your blood now up to at least 700 days, that's according to a Yale study. And what is the SV40 now? Is that something that increases cancer? Is that what SV40 is?
Yeah, the SV40 enhancer, what it does is it binds to what's called the P53 gene, and that is basically your tumor fighting gene. So wherever SV40 has been present for example, in vitro, it frequently produces cancer, eventually. And so it was a very big controversy back with the polio, because that's where it was first introduced, and that was where it was first discovered that it was having this effect, simian virus 40. So Kevin McKernan now, over the last month, has been really bringing this to light, because new studies have shown these components circulating in the blood. Previously, we were just concerned about things like the mRNA and the spike protein, as you mentioned, which, by the way, has persisted. I just met somebody at a conference, Hurricane Shelley, she goes by on Twitter, who is at that time, at the end of June, was 1,625 days post-vaccination, still producing spike in her bloodstream, right? That's 4.5 years after so well beyond what the Yale study found from the people they looked at. And so what do both these things mean? They mean that for some reason, both the spike protein and the DNA components that were in the we thought were not, and we were told were not, and we were lied to, those are persisting in some people's bodies for much longer than ever imagined. And of course, the Occam's razor explanation is that it would be that these have been you've got transcription going on. These have been integrated into some of the cellular tissue of these individuals. There may be other reasons, but that would certainly be the Occam's razor approach for now.
So, we were told initially that this is not a gene therapy and that this would not affect the DNA, correct? That's what we were told. And it wouldn't get into your DNA, but now we're finding out that it does get into your DNA?
That's what it looks like. It hasn't been proven, but we have to have some explanation for why is spike being created so long after the body should have, weeded out those cells that were creating the spike. And it could be the mRNA is lasting a lot longer in the system. And that might explain the spike, but it doesn't explain why DNA, which should not have a long lifespan in the system, is still showing up there, as I understand it.
So there are even some people. I'll play this short video. Here's someone who blames blood transfusion with mRNA tainted blood for horrible side effects. Let's watch this. It's about 30 seconds.
These are true accounts from real people.
After receiving a blood transfusion, I ended up in the hospital for 26 days with life-threatening pericarditis. If only I had known about Safe Blood sooner.
Safe Blood.
So we can't make a direct connection between her blood transfusion and whatever medical problem she's having, but there's lots of people, and that's just one person I picked. So there's lots of people who have stories like this, that after their blood transfusions, they got all these kinds of illnesses, and they are pointing towards that they got it from blood tainted with the mRNA vaccine. Now, so I don't lose my show on YouTube, that I have to say that's just a correlation. We don't have a study showing causation. We can't say definitively that's what this is. And of course, we have to remind everybody that the safe and effective, and it won't stop you from getting COVID, but it will reduce your chances of being hospitalized or dead. That's what I'm told by the YouTube doctors, and there's no better doctors than people who then work at YouTube instead of a hospital. Those are the best doctors.
Absolutely.
So you now have, let me play the rest of this real fast.
Saves lives and health by matching non-mRNA blood donors with transfusion recipients. Studies and patient reports show severe dangers of receiving mRNA components through blood transfusions. Protect yourself and your family by joining Safe Blood today.
So you have a thing called Safe Blood, and you can match people who need blood transfusions with people who did not take the mRNA. That's correct. What you're basically what Safe Blood is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we were founded out of Switzerland when naturopaths in Europe were looking at the blood of people who had just been vaccinated, and you could actually see at the end of that clip there, you could see a slide of vaccinated versus unvaccinated blood. And what they found was that in every case they looked at, now, that's not necessarily 10,000 or 20,000 cases, but in every case they looked at that they were able to view, there were clear distinctions and malformations in the blood of the vaccinated versus what healthy blood should look like. And so that raised some concerns. And this was even if people were asymptomatic, they're just walking around with no sense of harm, and yet their blood is showing these characteristics. So that was within a month of that. That was in August of 2021. By September of 2021, George Della Pietra had founded Safe Blood in Switzerland. And so we're now in over 55 countries. And really, that's why Safe Blood was the first into this field, because we were looking directly at, empirical evidence, empirical data right from under the microscope. But that has been really borne out, as you can see by that story of Celia Corral. I mean, we have many stories like her. That is just one. But they all bear the same thing in common. They were not vaccinated. They're individuals that weren't vaccinated. And when they were exposed to multiple units of blood in a system where Johns Hopkins tells us 70 to 80% of people have been vaccinated. And so if you get multiple units, Celia, I believe, got 6 units, then you have a virtually guaranteed chance of getting some mRNA donor blood. And then she had these reactions that are typical of 19 reactions, but atypical of transfusion reactions. And so the really renowned obstetrician, Dr. James Thorpe, and I are putting together a study on this, looking at these cases. There's quite a number of them. And of course, the most famous of which was this little baby, Alex, in Washington, because there you have a brand new newborn, no other things affecting their system, no previous history of having or anything, has a surgery, and they and gets one of those long fibrin clots that we've seen running from the knee all the way to the heart. It forms within hours of his being transfused. And why did it start at the knee? Because that was the transfusion site. So the evidence is strong, and some of these, like baby Alex or another one, baby Radgiver, who died of myocarditis within 2 days of a transfusion, are really as about as smoking a gun in science as I think you'll find.
So, do we know? Again, I just want to reiterate that we can't say exactly that these people died from the blood they got from mRNA. We can't say that there's a direct causal link. There's a correlation, though, and so there's a lot of people out there that want to make sure they can get their blood from that hasn't been tainted with the mRNA. And so how does that work? Tell people how that works.
Well, what they should do is go to our site, safeblood.com, and sign up as a member. And there's different levels of membership you can do. You can become a lifetime membership for, $1,000 fee up front. But typically people would like to space that out. And so we have their typical membership sign up would be $50 and then $10 a month. But we do have some that we give out for free. If you're a donor member, if you just want to give blood and help others, certainly, we're happy to have you join us for free. Members of the military who were, falsely terminated because they refused the we're giving free memberships to all of them. But what I like to encourage people is that we really need help in this fight. And so, because it's not just about matching people with blood, it's about much bigger issues. It's about you even having the right to do that in the future. That's why there's all these movements going on in the legislature. That's why I testified before the Wyoming legislature recently, because this right had always existed. And now it's being taken away. If you live in Washington or Oregon, now recently Minnesota or northern Wisconsin or Ohio, and you need a blood transfusion and you want to protect yourself from these risks, you're going to have to go out of state. And this even includes children who's were denied having their parents donate blood or a parent donate blood, where you have to have a child that needs surgery being flown all the way to Pennsylvania or to Florida just in order to get blood that the family feels comfortable with. And it is a fundamental overturning of a human right, and it needs to be protected. And that's why there's this legislation, but there's a lot more to do. So I like to think when anybody partners with us, this is going to really to making the blood supply safe for the future. Hopefully none of our members ever need it. And I should also add that Safe Blood is the only group that's looking to protect, really to find ways to protect everyone. Right. So there are others like us that formed afterwards, and mostly they were from concerned people who weren't vaccinated, who wanted to partner with other people who weren't vaccinated. And that's a very important thing to do. And we're very supportive of their efforts. But we really want to see this for everyone. I just ran into a fellow who had transverse myelitis and was paralyzed in December. And so I told him, I said, well, do you know that the leading cause of transverse myelitis now is the vaccine? And he said, I knew it. He said, I got that 2 weeks later, 6 days later, my hip locked up. And 2 weeks later, I was paralyzed and in the hospital. And, how can I say we know that? Well, we know it because of these studies of millions and millions of people that have been done that have found a 300% increase in transverse myelitis among the vaccinated, a 500% increase in myocarditis among the vaccinated. What I think people need to realize is when you have 70% of the population, 5 billion people worldwide who have been vaccinated, and you have a tripling or a quintupling of frequency of a disease among them, that means that this new variable, the vaccine, is now the leading cause, right? Just mathematically, more people are getting myocarditis after getting the vaccine than have ever gotten it before by a factor of 5.
So now I just want to let people know you're not a sponsor of the show. You're not an advertiser on the show. I'm not receiving any money from you or your organization to bring you on and make people aware of this service. But we do want, I would like to take advantage of this. And if people who are watching this want to take advantage of it, they go to safeblood.com and then that's it.
Yeah, you go there, you sign up, you become a member. If you need a match right away, then we'll match you right away. But you become a member, and then you're available if you want to be available to donate blood, or if you simply want to receive, that's there. But what you're really doing is you're enabling us to continue this fight, because there's a lot more that needs to be done, even above and beyond the legislation. And there's a lot more education that needs to go out there. For example, if we can only match you so quickly. So let's say you found out tomorrow that you needed to go in for a transfusion or for a surgery that required transfusion. Well, everyone should know that they should ask for auto transfusion, right? Because that's the only way you could get blood that you were comfortable with that fast advance notice. Similarly, pregnant women, they can anticipate that there might be a complication in pregnancy, hopefully not. But in emergency situations like delivery or a car accident, until more is done in this country to do the kind of tracking so that people can have fully informed consent in emergency situations, you have to take the blood that's off the shelf. So we're really working to do a lot of things. I look forward to a time when the blood banks will be cooperating and will be willing to track donor, the kind of donor status that would allow non-mRNA donor blood to be reserved for emergency situations where people request it or are concerned about that, or, like you have had an adverse reaction, or have, like me, have never been exposed to the. These are important things, and there's a lot of work to be done to win this, because the statistic is 1 in every 70 people per year require a blood transfusion. And so it's, even though it seems like something that probably will never happen, it happens a lot more often than people realize.
So do you have $1,000 sounds expensive to some people?
Oh yeah, that's for.
So
I probably shouldn't have mentioned that first. That's for if you want to become a lifetime member, like a charter member, because you're really behind this program. But really, it's our usual membership is $50 and then $10 a month.
Okay.
Obviously, if somebody's not a member and they're like, "Gee, I need blood tomorrow," or 2 weeks. Obviously not tomorrow, but say in 2 weeks, I need it right away, is what I'm saying. Then we have an upfront fee that certainly is is a little higher than what you would pay by being a member. But what I'm really trying to do is see who wants to partner with us and come on board, even if just for a year. Like, come join us for a year, maybe 18 months. See if you want to continue. It's not necessarily something that you have to commit to into perpetuity, but you're able to help a very important cause that is liable to be pertinent to you or someone you love in the future, almost guaranteed. And you're helped to make that safe for them just by partnering us. If we got 500 more members, say just from their show, I mean, that would go a long way towards advancing legislation and working for reforms in this area.
And do you have a discount you could give to people?
Yeah, absolutely. If we could do a discount code of say Jimmy, and we'd be happy to give everyone 10% off who's hearing through this show. I'll go ahead and put that together after we get off.
Sounds good. So use the discount code Jimmy if you want to become part of this program. Again, I don't get any money from this. He's not advertising on the show. This is not an advertisement. I just believe in this, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are interested in this, so I wanted to make them aware of it. Good luck on the legislation. Keep us abreast, and we'd love to have you back on with some victories that we could report. Dr. Clinton Ohlers, I really appreciate you and your work over at safeblood.com.
Can I add one more thing from James Thorpe?
Sure.
Very important to him for the pregnant women out there. He's really concerned about some of these blood-derived products like Rogam, that people should be very careful about whether they decide to take them, because they are blood-derived products. But the other type of transfusion or donation we didn't mention is autologous, and that's where you donate to yourself. So every pregnant woman can donate to herself if she wants a unit of blood, and Dr. Thorpe really highly recommends that. And so we want to see pregnant women protecting themselves too.
Fantastic.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
Dr. Clinton Ohlers, I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Okay, over to Steph.
All right. Thank you so much, Jimmy. All right. Vientikus Prime, FYI, there are two fronts being fought in the video game space for your rights. Speech, parentheses, search, Steam, ITCH.io, Visa, collective shout, end parentheses, and consumer rights. Search Stop Killing Games. All right. Let's see this one. Where is the other one? Part 2. Let's see. Is that it? I can't find the other one. FYI, two fronts. FYI, I'm sure it'll come up at some point. But then the disappointing thing is that even in gamer media space, people aren't making these connections, pointing out how it's just the same old plan carried out years. Vientikus. These fights go back way through the history of video games. The major inflection points involve the Atari, Nintendo, and Xbox and Gamergate. All right, Vientikus, thank you for that. That's very interesting. Jimmy, please watch the Kay Griggs 4-hour interview. Kelly, thank you for that one, Kelly.
That's a good interview. That's a really good interview.
What's it about, Kurt?
So Kay Griggs was the wife of Colonel Griggs, and she talks about the Cherry Marines, which was like all these guys and the officers that hung out with in those supper clubs at the Ivy League colleges, and they did like weird gay initiation rituals, and her husband was a severe alcoholic and part of it, and it led into MK Ultra. Not that it happened to her, but she was like a rich WASP lady that had no idea. So she finds her husband's diary with all this awful crap in it. And she's like, I thought these leaders were like loyal Americans, but they're actually like, we're being led by German existentialists, which is one of the best things she said. Because that's what the Bushes and them. You don't have to call them Satanists. You can call them German existentialists, just like the grossest, most perverted creatures on the face of the earth that don't like America, and they will do absolutely anything. But she revealed a lot of stuff in there.
Oh,
quite
okay.
a lot. And yeah.
All right. The Kay Griggs, Griggs, 4-hour interview. Whoa,
The
Kelly.
Marines was a Diddy party at the top, put it that way. It's around the time Tailhook scandal came out.
Yeah, I remember Tailhook.
That's when her interviews were out. I think she's nobody can find her now. Like she's missing. So
okay,